Loud and clear. Very happy to have you all here. Discussing about this really important stuff today. Hello everybody. It's a pleasure having you here. Good evening everybody. Good evening Ritu, Aisha, Umasri, everybody. And before I begin, just a few caveats. Ritika, Dasari, Anshu. The discussion I want to have with you guys today is very different from the discussions we've had previously, and this one is much more practically oriented. And I felt like I have had enough experience in life. Now I have switched 3 careers, and I have seen a wide range of experiences I've had. Or my career path in my life has been very different. If I explain to somebody today that I was once a bodybuilder and then I became an IRS officer and then I quit becoming an IRS officer and I started to become a full-time mentor, then the obvious reaction that you get when you tell somebody that is that what are you talking about? So that is it's an unusual thing to have that type of a career trajectory. जो इस career trajectory के पीछे story है, the motivation, the inspiration, the reason it went on like that is what I want to share with you. I've had a lot of experience with this. I started this experience and this exploration a few years ago. You're hearing some voices which are not clear. I hope it becomes clear now. Is it? How about now? I hope it is clear now. Yeah. So, ये सब experiences जो हैं, they are accumulated over many years. They are accumulated over a long period of time. And what I want to do today is अब थोड़ी सी हम different trajectory पे जाएंगे and we will have a oh no, so your job makes you feel suicidal. That is horrible. That is not what I want to hear. ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करनी है. पीयूष, शिवांगी, आकांक्षा, हम सब लोग यहाँ पर हैं, चाहे हम यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हैं या कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, एक फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए आए ना हम लोग. वी आर ट्राइंग टू सॉल्व अ सर्टेन प्रॉब्लम. व्हाट हैपेंस विद अस, जो मेरे साथ हुआ और जो आपके साथ भी होता है, जो कि हम सभी के साथ कुछ ना किसी एक्सटेंट तक होता ही है, बिकॉज वी आर द प्रोडक्ट्स ऑफ कल्चर, वी आर द प्रोडक्ट्स ऑफ सोसाइटी, वी आर द प्रोडक्ट्स ऑफ आर एनवायरमेंट टू अ लार्ज एक्सटेंट. जैसा हमको हमारे पेरेंट्स ने बताया, जैसा हमको हमारे टीचर ने बताया, जैसे रोल मॉडल्स मिले, जैसे इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ, वैसे वैसे हम लोग चलते चले गए. वी केप्ट ऑन गोइंग फॉरवर्ड इन आवर लाइफ, वेदर दैट वाज स्कूल और कॉलेज और इट वाज कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स और वट एवर इट वाज, टू सम एक्सटेंट. कुछ मे बी समटाइम्स यू हैव दीज डेविएशंस, बट फॉर द मोस्ट पार्ट हम एक सीधे तरीके से रास्ते से चलते रहे. व्हाट वी वर टोल्ड वर सर्टेन बेसिक असम्पशंस. अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है चंद्रमा, भाग्या, दीप्ति, कि ये जो बेसिक असम्पशंस थे ये हमारे प्रीवियस जनरेशन के लिए वैलिड थे. Those were valid for the previous generation. They are not so valid now. Some of them have changed. Some may need to be revisited. I wish to revisit them. And I want to exactly give you the type of information which I wanted 10 years, 15 years ago. I want to make sure कि जो मुझे अब समझ में आया है वो आपके पास benefit of hindsight हो, and you should have that very crystal clear in your head. So we'll talk about that, and this will be a very practical knowledge that we will have. So first thing I want to tell you is something called the happiness paradox. What is the happiness paradox? Happiness paradox कहता है the more we chase happiness, the further it goes from us. And let me ask you a question. सुमनदीप, सहीरा, सब लोगों से एक क्वेश्चन, दिस इज ओपन क्वेश्चन. आप लोग यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन करना चाहते हो, यू वांट टू प्रिपेयर फॉर द यूपीएससी, यू वांट टू गेट अ गवर्नमेंट जॉब. इतना तो क्लियर है दैट मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हियर विश टू गेट अ गवर्नमेंट जॉब. माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाई. जस्ट आंसर द क्वेश्चन व्हाई एज ऑनेस्टली एज यू ह्यूमनली कैन. क्यों कर रहे हैं हम ये? हो सकता है कि हमने इसके बारे में वी मे नॉट हैव थॉट अबाउट इट. दैट्स अ वैलिड आंसर, यू कैन से दैट. बट इफ यू हैव थॉट अबाउट इट, व्हाट रियली इज योर रीजन? क्यों हम यहाँ पे? Why are we here? Why do we want to do this? what is your reason? I'll tell you my reason. My reason was different. And वैसा तो मृदुका का बहुत ऑनेस्ट रिप्लाई है, बहुत ऑनेस्ट. जॉब सिक्योरिटी, उसने बोल दिया जॉब सिक्योरिटी. अभी इसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे. प्रतीक बिल्कुल ऑनेस्टली बता रहा है वर्दी. प्रतीक मतलब what he says by वर्दी, प्रतीक is saying that he wants influence. He wants influence, he wants power, he wants impact. कुछ कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ऑनेस्टली एडमिट करने में. इट्स अ गुड थिंग. इट्स माई चाइल्डहुड ड्रीम. प्रफुल्ल, चाइल्डहुड ड्रीम तो है, बट आई एम आस्किंग यू टू इंट्रोस्पेक्ट व्हाई. Now at our stage of maturity, at our age, we always have certain reasons for certain things, and those reasons have to be aligned with the emotions. So what is that for you? Deepti कह रही है utilize my potential for self satisfaction. Rakshita, for power and position in society. Akansha is also बिल्कुल straight up honest. Prakash कह रहा है to serve people. It may be correct, but we will see later. Financial support, reputable jobs. Reputation, again, these are all societal functions. We're going to talk about this. एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फ्रेमवर्क आएगा. we're going to talk about that. नवीन, get rich. इतना ऑनेस्ट भी नहीं होने की जरूरत है नवीन. If you want to get rich, then the government is not the place to go. If you want to get rich, then add value to society and you become, an asset. तो अपने आप सोसाइटी आपको एनरिच कर देती है. अगर आप बहुत कुछ अच्छा करते हो इकोनॉमी के लिए, कुछ अच्छी चीज बनाते हो, so it becomes automatically, that's how capitalism works, and now we are in a capitalist system for the most part. So there's no denying that. ये आपने honestly बताया. अभी इसको थोड़ा सा हम revisit करेंगे. After about 20 minutes we'll see आपको how if you feel differently about this or not, but we'll see. Then I'll tell you something interesting. Follow your passion. People say follow your passion. People told me also, and you go on to Instagram and you will find that you have to follow your passion. हर जगह लिखा होता है ना, it's freely dispensable advice. जिसको देखो आपको बोल देगा follow your passion. But ये follow your passion वाले तो हम लोग नहीं हैं. If we follow your passion वाले होते तो we would have been playing the guitar, or we would have been playing cricket, or we would have been doing something else. Why are we here in this government job platform? Why are we trying to do what we want to do? Most of our motivations are clear. This is a great sign. But let me tell you the problem with this. This is something I want you to know and need you to know. This is important. This follow your passion is not good advice. ये बिल्कुल nonsense है, unless it is supported by certain support infrastructure. Follow your passion dangerous होता है because, and I'll tell you the truth of the matter. In this world, it is very, very difficult to monetize your passion. हमारा passion तो है कि कहानियां लिखना. We want to be a writer, but writers are one of the poorest people in the world. The most educated and the poorest people in the world, one of them, that cohort must be one of the writers. Nobody pays for this anymore. Now you have ChatGPT which does most of the writing, so this anyways not the best place to be. अगर passion follow करना आसान नहीं है. How many people are able to actually cultivate their passion into actually playing cricket for the Indian national team? You have the World Cup, you have all these stars, you have all these people we idolize. But do we have any idea about the number of people who wanted to get there but did not get there? They follow your passion, a blanket good thing to say to anybody. And I do not think so. I don't think that is the case. Follow your passion is not great advice because it has to be tempered with many other things. 3 factors. There are at least 3 different factors which have to go simultaneously, which I will explain and I will talk to you about, and I will also share कैसे experience हो. So here is my experience with follow the passion. I was very passionate. Sanjana, Prafull, Komal, I was super passionate about bodybuilding. And I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder. I wanted to be the best bodybuilder in the world, and I was obsessed with it. And pura force, I had applied every single force of the cells, the energy of my cells in the body and the mind towards that goal. That was my passion. I very soon realized this is not a good idea. This is not a great idea for me. One, I will definitely hurt my health. I will hurt my body. I had to brutalize my body. I knew कि ये ज़्यादा देर नहीं चल सकता, ये sustainable तो है नहीं. It became clear that bodybuilding is थोड़ा सा, it's a superficial thing. You can't rely on having your just the body be your source of your income. And what, God forbid, something happens to it. And I had some really serious incidents also which made it very clear that you can't rely on just your body. Some athletes can do that. कुछ athletes उसको monetize कर लेते हैं. But the sport doesn't exist for the athlete. The sport exists for the sponsors who make money out of it. The sport exists for the supplement companies who make a lot of money out of it. The sport exists for those who are actually in the business of making wealth out of it. Why do you think cricket is such a big deal? We love it. Of course, we have passion for it. But do you have any idea the amount of money involved in that game, in that sport? It will boggle the mind. The number of people it employs, the amount of wealth it has created, ये सब चीजें पता नहीं होती हैं. These things are actually hidden. So follow your passion has to be taken with a pinch of salt. And there is a way to follow the passion. I will try to discuss it. And I will try to tell you what I think about it. Let me introduce you to another framework, a very good one. You know, Elon Musk uses this framework a lot. Elon Musk, you may have heard him talk about this, but this is not intellectual property of Elon Musk or anybody else. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking. First principle thinking कहती है कि if you find yourself doing something, and if that something is worth questioning, then you stop to pause and ask the most fundamental questions about it. Suppose you're caught in a project, you know, you're doing something और आप कहीं पहुंच नहीं रहे हो और आप फ्रस्ट्रेट हो रहे हो, तो आप एक बार ही रुक के पूछो, why am I doing this? What is making me do this? What is the fundamental question which I am trying to avoid? What is the conversation I don't want to have? Where is the honest, brutal truth that I am hiding from? First principle thinking means you simplify it down to the most basic thought, right? This is थोड़ा सा abstract, it's a little bit abstract to explain, but I'll tell you how it applies. So there is this very interesting framework, although not so interesting, it's actually common sense. There is a gentleman called Simon Sinek, and he's a business guru and quite an influential motivational speaker also. He wrote this book. The book is called Start With Why. He wrote this book for businesses. He wrote it for businesses and he wrote it for entrepreneurs. बहुत अच्छी successful book है. And this is the summary of it. That we don't need to get into the details of it. But idea इसका ये है कि a company will become great. A company will become great only when it starts to ask the question why. Why am I in business? Why am I doing this? And they keep asking this question again and again and again. And they keep aligning themselves with it. And they keep aligning themselves with the people who ask the same question. They keep aligning themselves with the same question. But how does this apply to us? We don't own businesses. If we own businesses and enterprises, then we would not be applying for government jobs. हमारे लिए कैसे relevant है ये? Here is how it is relevant. You ask the fundamental question why based on a framework. This is the framework. This is Maslow's need hierarchy. This is the hierarchy of needs by Abraham Maslow. Let us use it as a framework. It's not the best and the most scientific framework available, but you might have heard about this. And there are these layers. ये needs हैं. At the bottom of the pyramid, you will notice at the bottom of the pyramid, you have physiological needs. One step above that, you have safety needs. Now, what are the physiological needs? Your nutrition, water, air, sleep, shelter, clothing, all these basic things जो हमको चाहिए, वो सब चीजें हैं इसमें. What are the safety needs that people have? Security, predictability. You don't want to be out in the rain. You don't want to be exposed. You want shelter. You want shelter, right? What about social needs? These are social needs that once you have your security, once you have your physiological needs are met, your next need that will emerge is the social need. इस hierarchy का मतलब ये है कि as you satisfy these needs, the higher need will emerge. This does not mean that this is already there. It means at any given point in time, you should be able to identify which need is motivating you. Are you being motivated by social needs? Are you being motivated by safety needs? Abhi jaise we spoke and somebody said that I want Vardi. He said Vardi and somebody else said respect. So that person is clearly and very obviously motivated by social needs. Social needs met नहीं है, social needs को पूरा करना चाहता है या करना चाहती है, कोई doubt नहीं है और कोई problem भी नहीं है. But this is the level to which we should know कि अभी आज की डेट में हमारी क्या है motivation. Most of us, many of us in our country are still on the security need level. Security needs पहले हम पूरे करना चाहते हैं. We want to go one step further, and as soon as the security needs are met, your first thing you want is power. That is your social need talking. Then you need esteem. Once you have some social status, the next thing you want is esteem. And once you have that, then you want self-actualization. You know what self-actualization is? Self-actualization is very interesting because this researcher, Abraham Maslow, did a lot of research and he wrote this book. I also read one in my collection. He mentions about people who are motivated by self-actualization. Self-actualization is जब हम अपना potential achieve करने की कोशिश करते हैं और जब हम we want to become everything that we can become. जब हमारे ये सारे needs नीचे के सारे needs meet हो चुके हैं and now we want to just achieve our potential. जितनी जिंदगी है, जितनी life है, उसमें we want to be the best possible version that we can. Right? That जब ऐसा हो जाता, then you see people at the age of 60-65 doing master's degree and achieving their long lost visions and dreams and etc. So there's some of them may be at that level, and great people like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, according to Abraham Maslow, are at this level. Self-actualization. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? I'm saying this here because ये तो था सारा theoretical. This is just the theoretical part of it. Now let me get to the hardcore truth. The truth which is not obvious. Number one, none of us are at self-actualization. हम में से कोई भी self-actualization के आसपास भी नहीं है. हम लोग सब लोग safety और security के आसपास घूम रहे हैं. We are somewhere near safety and security needs as of now. We are not graduating beyond that for the most part. When you talk about the civil services, when you talk about wanting to become an IAS officer, IPS officer, or any government job, most of the times, either it is social or it is security. आपको ये दोनों words मिल जाएंगे. जब आप लोगों से पूछोगे, if you scroll up and if you see the chat that we just had, आप देखोगे 90% of the people were driven by social and security. Even the people who say that they want to serve society, कहीं ना कहीं it is a social need for recognition, it is a social need for respect, and it is not entirely unselfish. There is an element of egocentrism in it. That is completely fine. You know, we're all humans. ये जो hierarchy है, this is how it rescues us. This is the reason I wanted to show you this framework. If we are at the level of social security, we cannot think about self-actualization. If somebody comes to us, हमको ये नहीं पता है कि हम अगले 2 महीने के बाद रेंट कैसे देंगे. We don't know how we will pay the rent. Somebody comes to us and says, follow your passion. That person is completely missing the point that these middle layers are not yet filled. You can't just jump to these levels. This is very important. Now, इस चीज को हम लोग एडमिट कर लेते हैं. Let us admit and completely be very honest कि हम अभी social security needs पे हैं. जब ये पूरी होंगी, once we are able to complete these, फिर हम आगे वाली नीड्स पे जाएंगे. फिर बात करेंगे हम पैशन की. हम कोशिश करेंगे as far as possible that our life path has everything, जितना हो सके. But हमारे को we need to secure ourselves first. इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है. आप सब लोगों की जो थिंकिंग है, आपकी जो स्ट्रेटेजी है कि गवर्नमेंट जॉब सिक्योर कर लेते हैं, प्लान भी रख लेते हैं, वो बिल्कुल ठीक है, बिल्कुल लॉजिकल है. और वो इसलिए है क्योंकि आप इस स्टेज पे हो. जब वो पूरी हो जाएगी, once you get it, you will get it ultimately. जब वो पूरी हो जाएगी, then you will want higher things, and we should know. हमको पहले ही पता होना चाहिए कि higher needs पे हम पहुंचेंगे. But अब इस पे, when you talk about social needs, security needs, there is a dirty word. There is a word which people don't want to mention. There is a topic that people don't want to talk about openly, and that topic is money. That topic is money. अभिनंदन यहाँ मनी के बारे में कोई ओपनली बात नहीं करना चाहता है. Nobody wants to talk about wealth. You know why? I think I have a conjecture. Obviously this could be wrong. गलत हो सकता है. मुझे लगता है कि हमारी सोसाइटी में और हमारी जो एजुकेशन हुई है, our upbringing, our influences, they thought that money is immoral or amoral, and they gave it a bad tone. They gave it a bad symbolism, and it became obvious. It started to sink in our mind somehow. उन्होंने conditioning ऐसी हो गई हमारी कि अगर किसी के पास ज़्यादा पैसे हैं तो वो गलत होगा. That person must be wrong. There must be something wrong with it. हमने ये assume कर लिया है. We have internalized certain dictums which are false. We have internalized that money is scarce. एक तो हमको ये कन्विंस कर दिया है सबने कि पैसे की कमी होती है लाइफ में. ये नॉनसेंस है एक्चुअली. हमको कन्विंस कर दिया है समहाउ सोसाइटी ने कि टू वांट मनी इज इवल, टू वांट मनी इज अनएथिकल, टू वांट मनी इज इमोरल. हमको कन्विंस कर दिया है समहाउ वी फील दैट इफ यू वांट मनी देन देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद यू. दैट मींस यू आर नॉट अ गुड पर्सन. बिकॉज गुड पीपल डोंट वांट मनी. Good people don't want materialism. You know, they have an issue with materialism also. सब लोग materialism करते हैं. Everybody is enjoying the fruits of materialism. Everybody is happy with it. Everybody will go on Amazon and do online shopping as much as their pockets can afford. But everybody has something to say about materialism. And I do not understand why. There's no reason for us to hide the fact that we want certain things and certain things bring happiness. But here's an interesting thing. कुछ साल पहले, just अभी recently, not too long ago, there was this research. एक research आई जो बहुत popular हुई, जिस पे बहुत सारे TED Talks बने, जिस पे बहुत conversation हुई. वो ये कहती थी कि money does not lead to happiness. Money does not lead to happiness. Or this is the chart. It says that if you don't have money, just take a moment and see if you can appreciate this. ये research, this is a cartoonish way of representing that research. That research was psychologically very thorough and rigorous. ये chart basically ये कहना चाहता है कि if you don't have any money, if you don't have money at all, if you are poor, then your happiness levels will be low. If you get some money, the happiness level will start to increase, and if you do, at one point it will flatline, it will plateau. इट मीन्स आप जितने मर्जी और पैसे इकट्ठे कर लो, हैप्पीनेस नहीं इंक्रीज होगी, ये फ्लैट लाइन हो जाएगा एक पॉइंट पे. ये इट बिकेम सुपर पॉपुलर, दिस रिसर्च, एंड इट बिकेम लाइक अ डॉगमा. बट हियर इज व्हाट हैपेंड. रिसेंटली दिस रिसर्च वाज प्रूवन टू बी फॉल्स, एंड अ न्यू रिसर्च ड्रिवन बाय सम रिसर्चर्स हैव प्रूव्ड इट टू बी रॉन्ग. ये गलत है, कुछ और ही निकला है. आफ्टर नाउ दे हैव इन्वेस्टिगेटेड इट इनफ, एंड आई टेल यू व्हाट हैपेंस. दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ साइंस. तो दो ग्रुप ऑफ रिसर्चर्स थे. एक ग्रुप ऑफ रिसर्चर वाज थिंकिंग दैट देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद इट. ऐसा नहीं होता. वन ग्रुप वाज कन्विंस्ड. सो व्हाट दे डिड वाज दे कोलैबोरेटेड. उन्होंने कहा ठीक है, वी डोंट अग्री विद ईच अदर, लेट अस कोलैबोरेट एंड लेट अस सी व्हाट इज व्हाट. लेट अस सी कि money और happiness में actually क्या है. And they then revisited the entire research, and this is that research which has been recently published. I will read it out and I will explain it. आपको don't need to understand the academic language of it. It says the measures of well-being have been found to rise along with income in a logarithmic way. Daniel Kahneman is one of the world's, he is a Nobel laureate. Recently he won the Nobel Prize for economics, and he is also one of the best most well-known psychologists in the world alive today. So we discovered a joint reanalysis of the experience sampling data that the flattening pattern exists but is restricted to the least happy 20% of the population, and the complementary non-linearities contribute to overall linear logarithmic relationship between happiness and income. We traced the discrepant results to the author's reliance on standard practices, so and so. ये basically कह रहे हैं, they are saying that जैसे जैसे income increase करती है, वैसे वैसे हैप्पीनेस इंक्रीज करती रहती है. इट डजंट फ्लैटलाइन. द फैक्टर विच इज डिटर्मिनेंट हियर, द फैक्टर विच मेक्स इट कंफ्यूजिंग, द फैक्टर विच मेक्स दिस रॉन्ग इज द फैक्ट दैट डू यू नो हाउ टू लिव लाइफ. आपको खुश रहना आता है या नहीं? क्या आप अपने पैशन और अपने वर्क को कंबाइन कर चुके हो? आर यू इन्वॉल्व इन अ मीनिंगफुल परस्यूट? अगर इफ यस, then the more money you make, the higher you go in happiness. If yes, but if no, अगर वो fundamental question answered नहीं है, no, not Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman is the person responsible for emotional intelligence. This is Daniel Kahneman. The research is saying now that if you know how to live life with purpose, which you give to yourself, nobody gives it to you, then happiness will increase as much as your wealth increases. It continues to increase logarithmically. It also says that if you don't know how to do that, then no amount of money will get you anywhere. This is super important. ये हमको पता होना चाहिए. हमको admit करना चाहिए how important money is for us. हमको admit करना चाहिए that everybody has different needs for it. We should admit that we don't really know our requirements for money in the future. We don't know what we will face. We don't know how our personalities will change. We don't know what emergencies, what situations we will have to face. We all know it's important, but we don't really give it any mind because it's a dirty word, it's a dirty concept. But most importantly, we should know one thing. I have just one argument for it. एक ही argument है मेरे पास. बहुत simple argument. There are two types of problems. Tripti, Sumandeep, Akanksha. एक problem है you have money, but you don't know what to do with it. एक option है that you don't have money and you have various problems. You tell me which is the better problem to have. In one problem, you have money, but you have other issues. You don't know what to do with it. In one problem, you don't have the money at all. कौन सी problem better है? This life is full of problems. At times, the best we can do is to choose which problem is better. It is obviously better to have money than to not have it. तब की तब देखेंगे ना. Yes, of course, because it leaves you helpless. If you do not have it, then your options are limited. आपके options ही limited हैं. आपके पास जो menu है, your menu and your architecture of choice is gone if you don't have it. Even after having it, it doesn't solve your problem, but it is a better problem to have. It's a better problem to have. That is the argument, and this research also proves this. Now, interesting idea. Have you heard of the idea of ikigai? The idea of ikigai is a Japanese idea. It's a Japanese idea, and this is what ties up everything which I've been saying for a while. Whatever I've shared with you, this will tie it up nicely together. Ikigai is an interesting concept. Ikigai is saying this. See if you can appreciate this. It's a beautiful diagram, and this diagram is probably enough to explain what it means to you. So it is saying to find purpose in life. To find purpose in life, you find the intersection of what you love. You can call this as your passion. What you are good at. You can call this your skill. Your skill. What you can be. Your potential. You can call this your potential. And then what the world needs. This is the demand side of it. And जो इन चीजों का intersection है, that is your ikigai. Once you find your ikigai, you will find happiness. ठीक है, I appreciate the idea. But again, like all ideas, Gayatri, Lakshmi, Anshu, Sanjana, जितने भी ideas are empty. They are empty unless they give me something tangible. जब तक मुझे कोई ये नहीं बता रहा है मुझे exactly क्या करना है, तब तक मेरे लिए कोई value नहीं है इसकी. It is just a framework. वो framework चाहिए हमको. Why I like this framework? Why I like this framework is because इसने सारी चीजें consider कर ली हैं. They have considered money. जो that element of what you can be paid for is super important. They have considered it. They have considered passion. They have considered the demand of the economy where you can contribute. They have considered your skill also. सिर्फ passion होने से मतलब नहीं है ना. It doesn't matter if I want to be a singer and if I sound like a crow when I start to sing, my passion is not going to get me to that level anytime soon, right? So I need to have skill as also to go along with that whole mix to make it something magical. But you see, when something magical happens, you take for instance Virat Kohli. He's got all these things. Although he's an example, he's an extreme example, but you know what I mean. जिन लोगों के पास ये होता है, बहुत clearly हमको visible होता है. We can tell. We can immediately see. सबको लगता है कि कुछ तो magic है, right? But here is the problem. And these factors, they have to be taken together. Now suppose we take it. Here is one more thing that we need to understand. And we can't ignore it, we can't forget it. We can never ever do away with it. हमारी लाइफ की रियलिटी है ये इकिगाई एक दिन का प्रोसेस नहीं है. This ikigai stuff takes time. This is a long process. The reason I had to change 3 jobs, the reason I had to quit the IRS, the reason I had to do all these things is finding this ikigai. It takes time. You don't get there in one go. It is a process. Maybe it will happen to you also. In this initiative, ये India Employment Initiative है, this is what I want to do. Each one of these I want to unpack. Each one of these I want to have very clear, actionable, practical goals towards how to get there. How do you get here? This is very, very, very difficult to do. You know, ab jitna, whatever I have learned in this process, in all these things, I will try to share with you in this initiative. Goal end goal जो है वो that would be this, ideally speaking. But this framework is empty, and I want to fill in this framework with the right details. What I mean by right details? What do I mean by the details? I want to make you aware of what your personality is. When you say what you love, you may not know what you love. Anshuman, Sondal, Gayatri, हो सकता है अभी हमको clear ना हो what we love. Sometimes we have to investigate it. Sometimes it takes time to find it out. Can I give you a test that helps you find it? Let me see. We'll see. What are your needs? Can I give you a psychometric test to find what those needs are? Can I give you a psychometric test to find what you're good at? Can I tell you where you might fit in the economy based on these things? If I can do that, then I've given you all the pieces, at least all the pieces of Ikigai. Then you fit these together and you can find your way. But if you don't know even one of the pieces, अगर इसमें से एक भी piece नहीं है हमारे recipe में, something will be missing and you will end up finding this over and over again, right? And so some of the things that I will be doing, we are going in this direction, suppose, and we have more conversations. Prachi, Sanjana, Priya, ये सब हम conversations अब और करेंगे. Can we spend a little bit of time just to figure out how much risk we are taking? Do we even know how much risk we are taking? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with you taking risks. You have taken a risk by trying to attempt a UPSC. You took a risk, maybe if you quit your job, you maybe took a risk in some other things, perhaps. But do you know कितना है वो risk? Risk को buffer करा कैसे जाता है? And I'm not going to give you just advice. So I'll give you a proper test. I'll give you a risk calculator test, RCT. A risk calculator test will make you evaluate your opportunity cost. And then we'll talk about how to buffer them. ठीक है, suppose हम UPSC की preparation कर रहे हैं and we are going on in the process. We are investing time, we are investing money, we are investing our energy. Ultimately, I want to make sure कि जो investment हो रही है, it should give me certain returns. If I don't get returns directly through UPSC, I should get it through somewhere else. But I don't want to completely waste everything. I want to invest. I don't want to burn. There is a difference. You know, you can do two things with money. You can do two things with your time. You can do two things with anything, any resource. You can either burn it or you can invest it. आप शायद आप या तो burn कर सकते हो या आप उसको invest कर सकते हो. आप दोनों नहीं कर सकते. You can't do both. I am going to suggest ways to invest. Right now, most of us might be burning. There is no buffer, there is no. So we'll talk about this. Plan B होना चाहिए, नहीं होना चाहिए. अगर होना चाहिए तो क्या होना चाहिए? How do we make sure that our risks are properly aligned? How do we make sure that if we take a risk in one place, we can probably get it in some other place, the benefit if we don't get it? We'll be talking about this. When I said increasing awareness, knowing what you are, we will discuss what your personality is. I will suggest certain personality tests. I will give you certain personality psychometric tests. Yes, I will. And we will have tasks and assignments designed around it. Like I said, if it is just Gyan, it is useless. I don't believe in only Gyan. Unless actionable hai, unless we can actually bring it into our lives, it is no good. You know, it is easy for me to give the Gyan. So I can just give this and be done with it. I don't need to make a assignment. I don't need to make a questionnaire. वो सब करने का point ये है कि that makes it customized for you. That makes it different for everybody. Everybody gets a different results. Everybody has different insights. Everybody has a different situation. Everybody will be able to understand who they are and then align themselves with it. Therefore, this effort is necessary. And now I am at a stage of life that I need to do this now. It is time. It is time. And it is your time also. It is your time also, because you are at a stage where you either will become productive or unproductive in this economic life of yours. आपकी commercial economic life, आपकी जो professional life है, जो अब अगले कई साल चलने वाली है, it is now starting. It may have already started. अब उसमें how do you go through the process? You can't go through it unless you know exactly what you are. And we'll find that out. Most of the time we have ignored this. We'll find it out. We'll do some tests, etc. That is some of the things I'll be doing in this. The idea, like I mentioned, these conversations like these will be to find a customized career path uniquely suited to your individuality, but not just that, to actually give certain linkages with jobs. And practical discussions bhi hum karenge. This is just one session where we're having a discussion which is more or less abstract. Abhi hum abstract philosophical baatein kar rahe hain abhi aaj, but that will not be the nature of all the ensuing and future sessions in this initiative. Many of them will be highly practical. For example, I want to have a session on LinkedIn. I think all of you guys should have a really nice LinkedIn profile. All of you guys should be networking. All of you guys should be networking in the industry of your choice. All of you should be leveraging social networking. All of you should have a nice CV. All of you should have something of a career. All of you should know what you're doing. All of you should have a sort of a plan B, or at least know when you should have a plan B. You should know the difference between a government job and a private job. And that is what I will try to do. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the India Employment Initiative. बहुत practical बातें भी करेंगे हम इसमें, like I mentioned. And I'll be sharing job opportunities also if I can find them. It would vary from person to person and situation to situation, but it is the start. And I think it will grow a lot. I think it will increase in scope, and it is so relevant that I could not ignore it. You know, Adarsh, Anshu, Akansha, I've been doing this UPSC stuff for a while, and obviously we all are doing the thing, the UPSC exam stuff. Everything is fine, but I can't escape the question that ultimately all of my students here are looking for some sort of employment, right? That is why they're doing this. Do they know what they're trying to get, what they're getting into? Do they know if that is the right thing for them to do? And is there something I can tell them? Is there anything I can tell them that might be important? Yeah, that is the goal, that is the initiative. And this was our first such conversation. I hope that you had fun with it and that you enjoyed it. And I want to thank you all for being very nice and very patient with it, and also very very professional, very courteous, very polite, and very open-minded, in fact. So we'll have more of these conversations. You can communicate your suggestions to me about how we can do more of this, how we can make it better. It's a very new thing we are doing. It's not easily found. I don't exactly know what this is. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to give. You decide what it turns out to be, right? I will just put out everything I know out there for you in the best possible format, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you soon. We'll have more conversations. Thank you. Good night and have a great weekend.